Right. I think I have now fixed the audio problem. Is that better? Hey, Sophie. Yes. That was a beautifully slick start, wasn't it? It's hard to believe that, in fact, what I spend my day doing is talking to other people on Zoom. Right, so let's attempt this slick introduction again. Matilda hasn't joined me yet. She's over there somewhere eating an ice lolly, but she may come and help out in a bit. What is happening today is session 9. We're going to do something called Guess the Flag. Now, you have all been with us for many weeks now, so you're getting pretty good at Scratch. So what we're going to try and do today is something a little bit more complex. We're going to try some new things, going to do a few more advanced concepts. I think we'll probably end up splitting the session in two again, depending on how we do for time. So don't worry if you don't keep up, you can watch the video later. Sophie shared the guides, and you've just noticed my fingernails, amazing. So we've been busy this morning. It's quite something. I am super delighted that that is going on YouTube now. Right. Anyway, let's get on with this. Let me show you what we are going to do today. Right. So this is our Guess the Flag game. This is going to require some geography skills, and I'm sure you've all been doing your homeschool geography, so you know all of these things, just like we have. Right, here's the game. Go. And all we've got to do, quite simply, is guess the flags. Click on Italy. I can do that. I'm sure you all know the Italian flag, right? And then hopefully we'll get another one. Click on Japan. Japan, I can do. Japan, yeah. Last one. Click on Belgium. Okay, pretty sure that's there. Awesome. So this is the game we're going to build today. We're going to do a few different things. We're going to create some flags. We're also going to write the code behind the game. There's lots of random numbers being generated, picking answers, and we're going to dynamically generate some of these flags as well. So there's quite a lot of cool content in here. You're also going to design a couple of your own flags. So knowing some countries that have some flags of countries of the world would be really good if you do them. Otherwise, we can probably just make some up. Hopefully you have seen the starter project link somewhere already. It'll be in the chat if not, but let's jump over into Scratch, and this is our starter project. My fingernails are actually super distracting on the keyboard. This is a challenging concept, right? Cool. So the starter project has got a couple of things in already. We have got a list, which I think will be a new block to all of us. And inside the list, we have got a whole set of different flags already. Let me zoom this in a little bit so it's a bit easier to see. And the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to add a couple of new flags for people to guess. So at the moment, our game contains Japan, Belgium, Italy, Turkey, Denmark, Chile, Botswana, and Bangladesh, which obviously I know what all of those flags look like. We are going to add 2 more to this. So what we're going to do is jump over into our costumes tab, because you can see we've already got our flag sprite created. And here, we've got these 8 flags already created for us, but down the bottom, you'll notice we've got 2 blank ones to create our own flags. So what I would like you all to do is to design 2 new flags for me. So pick a country you know and see if you can create their flag using all of these drawing tools we have available here. So we have our fill where we can pick colors. We have circle and square shapes we can add, paintbrushes, lines, and you have an eraser tool down here, which might be useful. And don't forget, you can also use forward and back buttons if you need to undo things you're doing. I am going to pick a really simple flag to begin with. I want some red, and I'm going to create a red cross. When you're creating these, make sure you don't go outside the lines because we need all of our flags to be exactly the same size. So I am going to go like that. And then I'm going to go like that. almost in the middle. I'm sure most of you will recognize what flag I'm attempting to draw here. For those who need a little bit of inspiration for your flags, there is a huge list of them here on countriesoftheworld.com. So there are many, many flags you could pick from, but hopefully what you're all managing to do is inside your flag one, create a design of your choosing. Once you've created your flag, what I'd like you to do is give your costume a name that is the name of the flag. Now, naming this correctly is really important because we're going to be using that name later on to actually select the flag as part of our game. So make sure you get the right name, correctly spelled, all those kind of things so we can do it next time. Once you have done that, we're going to do exactly the same thing again and design a second flag. Now, again, you can pick a country from our list, pick a flag you know, pick something easy to draw like Vietnam, pick something crazy hard to draw like Tuvalu, or I'm going to do something different because over the course of this week, I've been trying to convince Matilda that there's a country in the world called Matildastan. I think she's about 50-50 on whether this is actually a real thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce the flag of Matildastan. For those of you that are not familiar with Matildastan, Matildastan is a small island-based country in the Pacific Ocean. It's very small, so you don't often see it on maps. Their flag looks something a little bit like this. Okay, so while I am creating this work of genius, hopefully you're also working on your two flags. I'm going to give this just a few minutes so we can put our designs together, because I'm sure some of you are doing much more complicated things than I am. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. We can definitely come back to these flags and do some more work on them in a bit, but I want to carry on and show you a few more things because you could definitely come back and do your flag designs in your own time. You could also do the same thing for any of these other pre-created flags. You could remove them or change them to build your own version of this game. So we're not all using the same flags, but for working through the exercise today, let's keep them the same. Right, now is the time to write some code. So we're going to jump back across to our code tab. And what you can see here is we've got a list of all the names of our flags, which have got the 8 starter flags in, but not the 2 that we've just created. So the first thing we're going to do is add another couple of flags to our list. So down into variables, we're going to add something to our list of flags. So the first flag that I created was England. So I am going to add England to the list of flags. And the second, definitely real country I added to the list was Matildastan. Right, so now you should have 10 countries on your list. Now what should happen when we click the green flag is those 10 countries should get added to our flags list over on the stage here. So let's give that a try. Looks good to me. I've got 10 flags into my list. So what we're doing is in the background of the game, we are loading all of these flags ready to be picked randomly in the game. Code says when the green arrow is clicked, add the flags. What do you think is going to happen if I click the green flag again? Yep, exactly that. We've now got 20 things on our list. So this is not what we want because we don't want this many flags. We don't want duplicates in our list. So we need to add something to our code to make sure there's only ever 10 flags in the list. I'm pretty sure some of you will have already seen what we're going to do because it's a little block just below it. But we're going to add another line into the very top of this list, which just when our game starts, it clears out the list and repopulates it. So now, when I click the green flag, it'll empty the list completely and then fill it with just the things that we need. So give that a go. Hopefully, the more times you click it, you'll only ever get 10 flags in there. Right. Next, we're going to introduce you to another concept, which is custom blocks. I'm pretty sure we did one of these right back near the start when we added one custom block, but we're going to use a couple today. They're really nice ways to create custom blocks of code. So rather than having these big long lists of all these things we're going to do, we can just create a simple custom block that contains more detail that we can hide away. What we're going to do is drop down into the My Blocks tab down here. So this little pink one. And we are going to make a block. And I would like you to call your block create flag list. Once you've got your name in there, hit OK. And you'll see that we've got a new block we've created here called create flag list. And on our canvas, we've got a new starter here, which says define create flag list. And in here, we can say what this block should do. So any code that sits in there will run anytime the create flag list block is run. So all we're going to do is drag all the code away from this when green flag clicked and put it into our create flag list block. And then the final step of this is taking our brand new block we've just created and attaching it to our green flag. So this might seem like a few unnecessary steps, right? All we've done is move some things around, but we're making our program much simpler. So everything we've got in here, we can now hide away. We don't need that. That can move out of the way. And the only thing we've got when our game starts is this. When the green flag is clicked, do that. So it just looks much easier. It's much easier for people to understand what's going on. If I want some more detail, I can look and think, okay, I'll go off and I'll see what's actually in this block here. But the actual code that runs at the start of the game, nice and straightforward. Okay, next up, we need to start to think about the quiz. Now, when I showed you how this quiz works back over here, each time we played this, it was giving me 6 random flags and asking me to pick one. So every time you start, 6 flags, but can you see that each time they are different? And the way that's working is the game is choosing from this list of 10 flags and just randomly picking 6 of them. That's the code we're going to go right now. So I've got 10 possibilities, just give me 6 of them, but don't give me the same 6 every time. Right, so jump yourself over into variables. And the first thing we're going to do is create another list. So at the moment, we've got a list of all the flags. We're going to build a new list of the flags that are going to be chosen for the round of the game. So up the top, there's a button that says make a list. If you click that, it will ask you to give your list a name. And our list is going to be called chosen flags. Once you've got that, click OK. And you can see another list has appeared onto our stage here now. We've got our flags list and our chosen flags list. Now, at the moment, they're on stage and in the way of the game, but we'll hide them later on. Let's just keep them here so we can see what's happening in the program. We can debug our code if we need to. Next up, we want to create a variable. We want to create a variable called flag number, so we know which flag we're going to pick. Making variables is a thing we've done before, and it's in exactly the same place that we are now, which is up top of the list, make a variable. So I hit make a variable, and our variable is going to be called flag number. So you've got your title in, hit OK. And something else has appeared on our screen now as well. We've got a brand new variable called flag number. Finally, before we actually write any real code, we are getting there, 20 minutes in, right? Is we're going to create another custom block because we want to keep our code tidy. We're going to do something a bit like what we've got here. So down in our blocks, we're going to create a brand new block. And this block is going to be called choose random flag. So you get your name typed in, and in the background, I'm going to subtly turn down the Simpsons from next door, because if I can hear it, you can probably hear it too. There we go, choose random flag, okay. So this has done the same thing that we did before. We've now got this brand new starter up here called choose random flag. We will come back to that in a minute. So just to quickly recap what we worked through there. We created a brand new list called chosen flags. Let's see that up here. We created a variable called flag number. And then we created a new custom block called choose random flag. Right, so next up, we need to start to pick a random flag from our list. And the way we're going to do this is by generating a random number. Can you see that each of the flags in the list have got a number? So the flags are numbered 1 to 10. We're going to write some code to pick a random number. Now, this is something that you will have done before with us as well. So there's nothing new in the code here, apart from we're picking from a list rather than using the number to control the position of a sprite or something like that we've done before. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some work on code that sits underneath our define choose random flag. I'm just going to tidy my stage up a little bit to make it easier to see, because I'm going to be adding code here. So what we want to do is set our brand new variable we've created, flag number, to be a random number. So over in variables, I'm looking for, up the top here, set flag number to, and then a number. So I could drop that in. And that'd work, right? I could say set flag number to 3. And then every time the game started, it would say, we want flag number 3. And it would pick Italy, which is good, but it would pick that every single time, which makes for a less exciting game, let's say. So what we want to do instead is figure out a way to do this randomly. Now, there will be some of you who already know exactly what we are looking for here, which is our random number generator we've used before in our operators, pick random. We're going to drag that in instead. So now what it's going to do is it's going to pick a random flag number between 1 and 10, which is perfect. We've got 10 flags in the list. That would work really nicely. So in theory, every time we run it, it'll pick a random number between 1 and 10. We'll get a different flag every single time. That's good, but I want to improve it one further stage, because I know one thing we're going to do later on is we want to pick 6 random flags from this list. And the way that'll work is the first time the computer picks a random flag, it'll pick from a list of 10. But then once we've selected one, there'll just be a list of 9. So we don't want it to pick a random number between 1 and 10. We want a random number between 1 and 9. and then it'll pick another flag, and another flag, until it's picking from just a random number list of maths 4. There we go. So we want this random number to be the same number of the number of flags remaining in the list. So we are looking for something else. Down in variables, in the list section, there is a block that knows how many items are in our list, which is just here. This is length of flags. So this will always be equal to the number of things that are inside our flags list. So I'm going to replace our 10 with that. And what we have here is really quite straightforward. Set the flag number variable to a random number between 1 and the number of things inside our flags list. Every time that runs, whether there's 2 flags in the list or 20,000, it'll pick a random number between the correct 2 things. So that's just what we need. Right, so we've got the first stage done. First stage of choosing our random flag is to pick a random flag from this list here, flags list. The next thing we want to do is to add that to our chosen flags list, ready to appear in the question. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this list command here, which is add thing to chosen flags. Let's drag that in, and then we'll expand on it a bit. So first up, what is it that we want to add to chosen flags? The thing we want to add to the chosen flags is the flag number we picked in the line before. So from my variable section, I'm going to add the flag number. Now that is okay, but it's not going to give us exactly what we want. So we're going to change this around slightly. What we actually want to do is be a little bit more specific with what's going into the chosen flags. We don't just want the number in there, we want the flag itself, right? So the way to do that is to use this item command from list. So we want to add not just number 3, but actually what 3 is, so Italy. So into here, we're going to say add item something of flags. That is where our flag number drops in. There's a few little bits in there, so I'm going to pause just for a second while you build that up. So in my first line, I'm picking a random number to assign to flag number. And then in our second line, we're taking that number, working out which flag that is, and we're adding that to our chosen flags list. That is our next little element of this game done. But at the moment, if I press the flag, nothing had happened because we haven't actually told this choose random flag block to run yet. It's just sitting on our stage ready to go. So in order for that to happen, we drop down into my blocks and I add the choose random flag block up the top here. And that's it. So let's save where we've got to and give it a test. What happens when you press the green flag? Hopefully, what's happening is each time you press, another random flag is getting added to your chosen flags list. You can see how each of mine are different and the random flag number is changing each time. So every time it's going to pick a new one. So hopefully that's all working for all of you. If you're getting the same flag in the list, go back and have a look at the random number because that's probably where something is missing. But we've got a problem here, haven't we? Because we don't want 15 flags or 40 flags or however many flags it is. What we need is we need 6 flags to pick from this game. So we need to add a couple of lines of code in here to make sure we only ever pick 6 of these things. And each time we start, we clear the list out to start again. So the clearing it all out to start again thing, we already know because we did one of these over here where it says delete all of the flags. We're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to delete all of the chosen flags. So back over in variables, delete all of chosen flags. And I'm going to pop that into our code just before it chooses a random flag. So hopefully now it picks me a random flag, but it just gives me 1 each time. Now what I want to do is I would like 6 of these flags. Sorry, Sophie, I've managed to completely mute you, haven't I? It's going well. Can I recap about adding to the chosen flag list? Yes, I can. Right, so that is this block here, define choose random flag. What I did was first from the variable section, I said, set flag number to something. So we want to set our flag number variable to a particular number, but we don't want just an individual digit. We don't just want 2 because that would be the same flag every time. We want to pick a random number from our list of 10 flags. So what I did was I used one of our operators to pick a random number between 1 and something, but 10 isn't really what we want because the number of flags we might have might change or it might be different during the game. So we swapped out 10 for another item from our variables list, which is the length of our list, which is the length of flags. So set the flag number to a number between 1 and the length of things in our flags list was the first step of that. And then the second step was this line here, which is let's take that flag number, pick out which flag it was and add it to the chosen flags list. So add item flag number of flags to chosen flags. Hopefully that kind of makes sense now. If it doesn't, stick something in the chat because I am sort of managing to concentrate on this today because I'm not also crowd controlling an 8-year-old. Right, let's keep going. So with that block done, I added the choose random flag block to our game start. And I added a delete all block here to say delete all of the flags that were there originally. So 10 flags in the list, I just want to start with 0 each time. And the stage we were going to go on to now was I don't just want 1 flag in my chosen flags list, I would like 6 each time for the game. And we already know some code for this. It's going to be one of the loops that we've done lots of times before. So over in the control section, I am looking for my repeat loop because I know I want to do exactly the same thing. And I want to do exactly the same thing 6 times. So here we go. We're going to repeat 6 times, choosing a random flag. We have done the design flags already. Do you want to say hi quickly and I'll carry on? We will do that later because everybody else is a bit further ahead than you. We can't see it. Right, so do you want to sit and watch? No, we are off again. Week 1 over this is lockdown, we're doing well. Right, so we have got our repeat block 6 times. I would like you to choose a random flag. So let's test our code. Let's hope I haven't missed anything because a little distracted. Green flag, hopefully 6 chosen flags, fingers crossed, 6 chosen flags. If you repeat click, hopefully you get different flags each time. Everybody happy with that? Looking good. Now, there we go. There's a nice example. here is a problem with our list of chosen flags. Can you see what I've got in my list here? I have got 3 Chilis, 1 Matildastan, and 2 Italys. So this isn't going to be the best question in the world, is it, right? Because we've got lots of duplicates in here. So we need to try and improve our random flag block to make sure that we exclude these duplicates, because we want 6 different flags each time. So let's see if we can think about how we could improve this to add in unique flags each time. Right, next up is back over in our variables section. The thing we want to try and do is, once we've picked a random flag, so the first time this runs, I pick Chile, I want to make sure the next time this little piece of code runs, it can't pick Chile again. So I want to take Chile out of the list. And the way we do that is by removing it from the list of flags. And we're going to do that using the delete block just here. What I want to delete is not number 1. We want to delete the flag number. From flags. Cool. So now what should happen is we should get unique flags each time. Fingers crossed. Looking good. Right, so I'm aware there's quite a lot of prep at the front end of this before we actually get to game playing parts. There's quite a lot of complex mechanics happening in the back of this game. So quite often we were doing quite simple things in the past with moving things around on screen or sensing. But there's quite a lot more logic in the game, which is harder work to begin with right now, but it lets us do some very cool things later on as we start to build up some of this complexity. I'm super sorry you're getting bored. We'll try and make it more exciting. Next up, we need to pick a correct answer. And we're going to do something similar to what we've done before, which is we need a new variable that stores our correct answer. So up into variables, let's make a new variable. And we're going to call it correct answer. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do one more block I'm going to add, and then I'll go back over the last few things I've done so people could have another look at my code, because I'm aware we've got quite a bit on the screen. So where we've got to so far is we had 10 flags, we picked 6. The last thing I want to do is I want to pick which of these is going to be our correct answer for the game. I've created a variable called correct answer, and I now want to set this correct answer to something. And we're going to pick, just as we did before, a random one of these to be the correct answer. So I'm going to pick item something of chosen flags to be our correct answer. But I don't want it to be 1. I want this to be our random number that we did before. So this pick random block here. Pick random 1 to 10, but not 1 to 10, because we'd like it to be the length of our list. Cool. So what we'll get now when I click go is 6 flags picked at random to be part of our game, and a random answer picked, which is turkey. If I do that again, we get a different one each time. Right, so we've reached a nice little point to pause here. So I'm going to go back and recap the previous section for people. Hopefully you can see all of the code I've created is on the screen here. So everything you need is within these three little chunks here. The recap was from the delete block. Cool. So what we created was a delete tool here. And the reason for that is every time we start this game, we want to have a completely empty list of chosen flags. We only ever want 6 flags in there. So I used the delete tool block from here, from inside variables, delete tool of chosen flags. So that way I know every time we start the game, it'll empty chosen flags and give us a completely new place to start. And then what I did was I built a replete block because I don't want just one flag in this list. I'd like 6 of them. So over into control, I said repeat 6 times. And the thing I want to repeat is choosing a random flag. So when the green flag is clicked, create my flag list, which goes off and runs this chunk of code down here, which populates the list. Empty my chosen flags list, which this list here, so this is completely blank. And then 6 times randomly pick something from my list to fill up my question bank. So I've now got 6 flags ready to go in the question. And the final step of this is picking a correct answer. So we have got 6 flags and a correct answer, which is currently Bangladesh. And the correct answer block of code is here. So from variables, set correct answer to 0 is what I dragged in first, this one here. And then we made it a little bit more complex by saying we want one of the items of the chosen flags list to be the correct answer, not just a number, and then generate a random number in the same way that we did before. I am going to pause again for 30 seconds so that a few people catch up. If you're seeing different numbers of flags, have a look at the number of times you repeat and also the way you're picking the random numbers. So these blocks here are quite important because that tells us how many things it's picking from. Ah, gotcha. So you've only got 4 things left in your list of flags because that is all that's left. So we started with 10 flags in total. And the code we've written is to say, from that list of 10, take one of them and put it into chosen flags. So we're preloading this chosen flags list with the 6 flags for our question. And then it does it again. It takes another one from flags and puts it in chosen flags, and another one from flags and chosen flags. So if we've got 6 chosen flags, maths tells us there should be just 4 left over. So what you're seeing is actually all okay. Right, we are going to do one more stage today. Hang on. Back in the room. So we're going to get slightly closer to actually being a game now. Rather than having all of these lists and numbers on the screen, we're going to swap this out and try and display some flags. So what we're going to do first is create a new custom block. Do you want to come join in, Tilda? So let's jump down into my blocks. And we're going to make a brand new block. And our block is going to be called clone flags. Cool, it's the same as before. We've got a new block appearing up here. I'm going to drag this down a bit and make myself some space so it's a little bit easier to see. And what we're going to do in this section is we actually want our 6 flags to show up on the screen. So back over in our example, every time I click go, it's showing me 6 different flags. So you can kind of picture what we're happening here. So in the background, it's loading up our chosen flags list, and then instead of just showing me their names, it's going away, finding the image, and bringing it onto the screen. So that's what we're doing right now. Just pick up on one more question. The duplicates thing is probably missing this line here. So after it's picked the random flag, it deletes that flag from the list. So delete flag number of flags. Right, so let's show some flags on the screen. Let's drop into our variables section. And can you see where we've got our variables and where we've got our lists? There are little tick boxes. When these are ticked, it shows them on the screen. And this is useful while we're writing the code to make sure what's happening in the background is right. But now I know my flags list and my chosen flags list are working correctly, I can hide them from the screen. So if I just untick those, they disappear. And I can do the same for the variables as well. So we've got a nice clean stage to work on. So now let's do some visuals. The first thing we want to do when we're cloning our flags is we want them to appear. So back in weeks 1 and 2, when we were starting to create sprites and show and hide them on the screen, we did something that seemed very simple, but actually is really useful when you get much further on into Scratch like we are now, which is we use show and hide blocks. So the first thing I want to do is show my flag. So the first thing that the clone flags block does is show. And then the next thing we're going to do is, again, something we've done early on, which will seem super simple when you did it, which is we need to tell the flag where to go. So we're going to use the go to from the motion section to say where on the screen we'd like our flag to be displayed. I can do the code to the iPad. Sorry, internet. I will sort that bit out later. You'll be okay, won't you? Clone flags show X and Y coordinates. So we've got X minus 170, Y 120. So that's going to put our first flag somewhere up on the top left of the screen. So when the clone flags block runs, it's going to show and it's going to put the flag here. That's good. But we don't want just one flag. We would like 6 flags on our list. So we are going to do some repeating, just like we did before. So jumping across into control, I'm going to pick out my repeat 6 block. And the first thing I want to do inside this loop is pick the first of my flags. So the first thing from my chosen flags list. And we know that all of our different flags are stored away in costumes, aren't they? So these are the flags that we created before. So all we're going to do is select a costume. So into looks, we want to switch costume to. So this block now says switch costume to, and I can pick a flag from the list. Again, just a quick recap there. The way to hide my variables and my lists from the stage was inside the variables tab here. You can check and uncheck from the list. So if I tick all those things, they show up. If If I untick them, they hide. Now, this is quite cool because sometimes it's useful to be able to display these things on the screen. So for some games, that might be good. But for this, obviously showing the correct answer is not going to make the quiz very tricky. So that's the way that we hide those. Right, so what's going to happen here is when clone flags run, the first flag is going to show up in the top left, and the first flag is going to be Italy. And that's good, except if we have 6 Italys, it's not going to be a very hard game. Just hit my favorite request for pause ever, which is my laptop's nearly running out of battery, so I need to plug it in. I will pause for 30 seconds. While we're pausing for power, what we're going to do next is we're going to change out this little chunk here where it says Italy and replace it with something from our chosen flags list. So for those of you that don't need to plug your laptop battery in, see if you can work out how you would pick the first thing of the chosen flags list. So the way I am going to do that is jump down into my variables code again. And down here, we've got a little block that says item 1 of chosen flags. And that's going to do exactly what we need. It's going to look at our chosen flags list, so this list here, and it's going to take the first item from it, which in this case also happens to be Italy. So instead of that, I want to switch that out. So the first thing it does is it looks for the first item in the chosen flags list, and it picks that costume. And then I want to create my clone. So in the control section, I'm going to drop down to create a clone of myself. So that's the line that's actually going to create this flag for us on the stage. So when the clone flags block runs, go to this place, pick the first flag from our list and clone it onto our stage. Next, we want to delete that item from our list, ready to pick the next flag. So back into variables, and then delete the first item of our chosen flags list. So show, go to this position, get my first flag, show it onto our stage, remove that from the list, and then it'll get ready to loop back around to the start again. Now that is almost perfect apart from one thing. And that is, this will loop round and round, and it'll display me 6 flags, but do you know what's going to happen with those 6 flags? What's going to happen is they're all going to display one on top of the other because we haven't told the next flag to move anywhere. So what we're going to do is use another motion block just to move it along a little bit. So we want to change our X value, that's the horizontal value, by about the length of the flag, which is 110. So this lovely little repeat block we've got in here is going to pick the first flag from our list, clone it onto the stage, remove that from the list, move the cursor along a bit, and then show the next flag from the list, and the next flag, and the next flag. So this is the first few things ready to show the flags on the stage. Let's scroll back up to our when green flag is clicked code, and we need to start this clone flag block. We need to get this into the game. So I'm going to drag my clone flags block from my blocks onto there. So when I click the green flag, hopefully we'll see 6 flags on our stage. Okay, looks good. Got some flags. They're different flags. At least some of them are all real countries. We're doing well. The problem we have is that we can't see all of the flags because mine is just about showing 4 flags, but then the others fall off the screen. So what we need to do is create 2 rows of flags so we can see them all on the screen. So let's go back down to our clone flags code. And we need to write some code to say, if we get to the end of the screen, let's start a new row. And the way we're going to do that is we know that 3 flags fit nicely on the screen. So after 3, let's create a new row. So what we're doing there is we're going to write an if condition. You even heard me say it then. So if there are 3 flags in the row, let's start a new row. So dropping into my repeat block now, I've got an if statement. And what I want to do is when our list chosen flags is equal to 3, then I want it to start a new row. So the if we're looking for is an equals. So if something is equal to 3, and what's the something we're looking for? It's back to our lists again. It's the number of things in the chosen flags list. So if the length of chosen flags is equal to 3, then we're going to do something with it. So nice new if block has gone in. We want it to be equal to 3 from the operators, and from the variables, the length of chosen flags list. And once we get to 3, what we want to do is we want to start a new row of flags down here. So what we're going to do is just move where that next flag is created by using our goto command again. So back up into motion, we use the goto x and y. And here we're looking at minus 170 and 50. So save and test your code. And you've got 2 rows. Hopefully, everybody's with me. A few people look like we're having some trouble with the randoms. If that's the case, drop back to that section of the guide. Once I stop talking at you, have a look and see where we're different. See if you can see from my code where the differences are. The final thing we're going to do today, 5 to 3, is can you notice something's happened with my game, which is this last flag is being displayed twice because we haven't told it to hide that original block. So all we're going to do is look for our clone flags block and drop in a hide at the very end. Now I just get my 6 flags every time. I'm getting random flags each time. And in the background, there's going to be a correct answer for these as well. Right. We are just about out of time, and we are also exactly where I thought we would get to in half the time. So that is good news. We are going to pause for the week here, and we're going to pick up the second half of this next week. As always, we'll pop the video on YouTube so you can watch it back. We gave you a link to the guide at the start if you want to carry on or look back at previous code. For those of you that have kept up and would like some challenges, here are a couple of ideas of things to try that don't involve going further ahead, so you'll still be with us when we carry on next week. How about seeing if you can change the order the flags appear? So rather than like with my game, when I click go, they all just show up. Could you make them appear one at a time? So it's 1, 2, 3. Could maybe you introduce sound so it plays a different sound with each flag? Maybe they pop when they show on the screen. Maybe each country's flag has a different noise, or maybe they animate onto the screen. So these are all concepts we've done in previous lessons that you could probably add in here, but with the added cool level that we're randomly generating images and using code to show them on the stage as well. Right, I am done. I'm going to stop talking for a bit. Thank you, Sophie. I think you helped me out a number of times there. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Today has been slightly more fun than I was expecting. We will see you all next Friday for some more flags. Thanks very much.